Hello and welcome to another edition of Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, Morris County Public Information Officer. Focus on Morris County is a program that's designed to keep us up to date on the actions that are being taken by the Morris County freeholders. And the show is also intended to make us all more aware of the many aspects of Morris County government. Now, on this segment of the program, we are going to focus on the Morris County Historic Preservation Program, which is one part of the Morris County Preservation Trust. And here to tell us about both of those is my guest. He is Ray Chang. Ray is the director of the Preservation Trust here in Morris County. Ray, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Joe.
Give us an overview, if you will, of Preservation Trust and the various areas that it covers.
Sure. The Morris County Preservation Trust administers the County Open Space Farmland Trust Fund program that was established by the freeholders at the end of 1992. The trust fund helps municipalities and qualified nonprofit groups with their needs in open space, farmland, historic sites preservation, as well as most recently our flood mitigation needs. So that's part of the trust fund.
Yeah, and that flood mitigation program is really only about a year or so old. Unique program here in New Jersey that other counties in the state, as well as the state itself, have been asking for information, maybe trying to pattern a program of theirs after our flood mitigation program.
Also, the funds for the trust fund, they also go to the county MUA as well as the Park Commission.
For their various projects,
areas that the trust fund assists.
Yeah. Okay. So where does the fund get its money? How is the fund funded?
Yeah. In '92, when the referendum was passed, the referendum allowed for a tax, which would fund the trust fund areas.
And we should mention that when the freeholders established the program back in the early 90s, it was established because of the fact that Morris County voters did approve overwhelmingly the establishment of the Preservation Trust program. So now in 2002, because of the county's rich history, the freeholders amended the Preservation Trust to include acquisition and preservation of historic sites and historic resources. What percentage of this fund that we're talking about, Ray, actually goes toward historic preservation?
Yes, the 2002 referendum allowed for between 1/8 and 1/4 cent of the existing tax to go for historic preservation purposes.
So in 2013, this year, in dollars and cents, how much money was actually allocated to this particular purpose?
Yeah, this year we had approximately 2.7 million that were allocated to different historic sites.
Well, how many applications did you receive, and how many projects were actually funded this year?
Yeah, this year we received 28 applications in all. One was deemed ineligible, one was withdrawn, and the remaining 26 were at least partially funded.
Okay. Now, so for historic preservation purposes, who's eligible to apply for funding?
Yeah, a number of eligible entities. One are all of the municipalities in Morris County. The other, qualified nonprofit groups. They have to have a purpose in historic preservation. And also the County of Morris are also eligible.
When they're applying for funds, I understand there are several different types of grants that an entity can apply for.
Yes.
What are they?
Yeah, we have 3 different types of applications. One is the construction, which relates to all the bricks and mortar projects. We also have a preservation planning application that includes all of your plans and reports that entities can prepare in order to get ready for the construction activity. We also have a construction document application, which include all the architectural drawings and specifications that's needed to get to a construction project.
What will a grant not fund, if that's the proper way of asking that particular question?
No, we don't fund, for example, reconstruction, and we also don't fund any administrative or costs, as well as interpretive activities. such as signs or displays.
Take us, Ray, take us through the application process, if you will. What happens once an entity applies, and I assume they apply to the Preservation Trust? What happens after an application is received?
Yeah, we prepared the applications for the review of a freeholder-appointed review board. And for about a month's time, they would visit all of the sites. They would listen to applicant presentations. And at the end, they would make their recommendations to the freeholders.
Now, we're going to show you 3 or 4 examples of projects that were funded this year by the Historic Preservation Trust Fund. The first one that I believe we're going to see is Willow Hall. Ray, what can you tell us about Willow Hall?
Yes, this Willow Hall in Morristown, it was constructed in 1848 by George Vail, who financed the perfection of the telegraph at the Speedwell Iron Works across the street from Willow Hall. It's an example of a Gothic revival cottage, likely based upon the pattern book architecture of Andrew Jackson Downing. And it's built of local purple pudding stones, very obvious when you drive by and see. It's a contributing resource in the Morristown Multiple Resource Area, National Register listed. It's also individually listed on the New Jersey Register of Historic Places. The grant is for $135,080, and it'll assist with replacing the slate roof.
Do you know, can you tell me who actually received the grant? Who was the,
Yes,
who was the application submitted by?
The recipient of the grant is the Passaic River Coalition, and Willow Hall is in fact the headquarters of the group.
Okay.
Yes.
Another project that we're going to see that received funding in 2013 is the Free Public Library in Rockaway Borough. What can you tell us about this?
Yes. This is the Joseph Jackson House, now the Rockaway Borough Free Public Library, likely constructed between 1800 and 1829 by Stephen Jackson, who was a member of General George Washington's bodyguard. The building is individually listed on the New Jersey and National Registers. The grant is for $23,880, and it'll assist with completion of a preservation plan that will lay out the future direction for preservation. And this will cover the exterior envelope of the building to include code review, structural systems evaluation, as well as a paint analysis.
Okay. This project or resource, I guess, this next one that we're going to see is an interesting one, at least to me it is. It is a fire truck, and if I have the name correctly, it is the Aaron's Fox P4 fire truck.
Yes.
What about this, Ray?
Yeah, this is certainly unusual. Most of our sites in the program are historic buildings and structures, but this is a fire truck, and in Madison, originally purchased and donated to the Borough of Madison in 1921 by Geraldine Rockefeller Dodge. There are only 3 remaining examples of this model, although 9 were originally constructed. In the fire truck, it represents significantly the transition in firefighting history from the bucket brigades to the continuous stream firefighting. And I think many folks in Madison are very proud of that. The fire truck is eligible for listing on the New Jersey registers, and the grant is for $75,000 going toward acquisition of the fire truck, with the borough providing the 50% match.
Okay. And the final project that we're actually going to see today out of all of those that were funded in 2013 is the Mount Kemble Home. What about this, Ray?
Yeah, this is this is in Morristown, constructed circa 1826 in the federal style, and later was remodeled in the 1880 and expanded in 1905. That introduced different architectural elements, such as Carpenter Gothic, stick, and colonial revival elements. It was founded as the home for destitute women, and it remains a home for elderly ladies. The building is a contributing resource in the Morristown Historic District extension, and the grant is for $40,416. That'll assist with completion of a preservation plan. So that'll include code review, structural and systems evaluation.
Now, I believe for the Madison project, for the fire truck, you mentioned something about the borough of Madison actually matching the grant. Is that a requirement? Does an entity that receives a historic preservation grant have to match the grant?
Yes, there is a matching requirement. For most projects, including our construction projects, the matching requirement is 20%. So the applicant comes up with a 20% match. For non-construction projects that are less than $5,000, there's no match. So the county would pay for the entire. But for acquisition projects, it's 50% matching.
Okay. Now, I'm curious, Ray, since this program began, the historic preservation portion of the Preservation Trust, how many sites in how many towns throughout Morris County have received grants?
Yeah, altogether, since the beginning of the program, we have funded 80 historic sites and resources throughout 32 towns in the county.
And that's amazing. I think that just goes to further demonstrate the rich history that Morris County and just about each one of the 39 towns has here in the county. Now, the staff of the Department of Planning and Development, you're a part of that staff. Are you and the staff available throughout the course of the year to assist an entity or a government with the application to answer any of their questions? Do you folks help them in any way?
Oh, definitely. And people can come to us with questions on the application. We also have a application workshop at the end of January so that people can come and know more about the program.
Give us some contact information, Ray.
Sure.
Telephone number for the Preservation Trust, and I know you have a couple of websites too.
Yes. Well, my email is rchang.co.morris.nj.us, and our address is the Morris County Preservation Trust at the Morris County Department of Planning and Development, 30 Schuyler Place, P.O. Box 900, Morristown, New Jersey, 07963-0900. And our phone number, 973-829-8120.
And the websites that I mentioned, you can also get more information from the Planning and Development website, which is morrisplanning.org, and also from the Preservation Trust website, which is morrispreservation.org. Ray Chang, I want to thank you very much for being with us and shedding some light on the historic preservation aspect of the Morris County Preservation Trust. Now, if you have a question about Morris County government that you would like to have answered, you can call the Morris County Freeholders Office at 973-285-6010. And don't forget to visit the county government online, morriscountynj.gov. And while you're there, why don't you sign up for the county's electronic newsletter, which is Morris County Connections. Stay up to date with county government news. And also, when you're on the website, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, view past programs and other informational videos on YouTube. You can browse our document library on Scribd and check out pictures, photos from various county events on Flickr. I'm Joe Garifo. Thank you very much for being with us. Now, don't go away, because we'll be right back.
Are you pregnant, scared, or a new mother who can't care for your newborn?
There's a safe haven in New Jersey.
You or a friend can bring an infant to any hospital or police station and give up custody safely, legally, and anonymously.
No questions asked. No shame, no blame, no names.
Call 1-877-839-2339 or visit njsafehaven.org to learn more. Remember,
New Jersey has a safe haven for unwanted infants.
Brought to you by the New Jersey Department of Children and Families.
Welcome back to Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, and on this segment of the program, we are going to focus on some education programs that are offered by the Morris County Park Commission for both students and teachers. And here to tell us about those programs is my guest. She is Jenny Gauze. Jenny is Superintendent of Environmental Education with the Park Commission, and she is also in the Park Commission's Division of Cultural and Environmental Resources. Jenny, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Let me ask you first, before we get into the specifics about some of the education programs that are offered, what is the Division of Cultural and Environmental Resources?
Well, it's a very large division that's going to encompass pretty much everything that's not strictly recreation. So you have historic sites and historic sites education. You also have horticulture and horticulture education. And then my division, my area, environmental education and natural resources, all together under one umbrella.
As superintendent of that area, what are some of your responsibilities?
Well, I have two parks that I'm mainly in charge of, and that's the Great Swamp Outdoor Education Center in Chatham and Pyramid Mountain, which is in Kinnelon and Montville. We do all kinds of educational programs year-round. We probably get about 5,000 school children that come through. We do things for teachers, for the public, scout groups, we do big events, birthday parties, so we're busy.
When we talk about these education programs that I mentioned for students and for educators, generally speaking, what are they, especially focusing on the ones for students, what are they designed to do?
Well, they're designed to meet the core curriculum standards, but in a way that's hands-on, that's exciting and interesting for the kids, to give them firsthand experience. If you're going to study trees and you're going to look at a book with 10 pages of trees, it's not really the same as going out and actually looking at a real tree in nature and its relationship to the environment around it. So there's definitely a place for these field trips as part of a good school curriculum.
Yeah, and I guess we should be a little bit more specific than maybe I've been. These education programs are offered as a part of a school trip that a school might take during a normal school day, correct?
Right, that's one of our main ways that we do the education for students.
Now, when we're talking about these education programs, what topics or what subject areas do they involve?
Well, mostly my area is going to be environmental education, natural history, natural sciences, but we do also go into historic topics, like we do maple sugaring and old-fashioned apple cidering. We do some math-related things. We have orienteering, using compass and map to navigate. So they are multidisciplinary, but definitely more focused in the environmental sciences.
I would imagine, you mentioned compassing, I would imagine that some of the kids may have never seen a compass before until they get to your program.
No, that's true, and we have to kind of bring it in. You know, you have a GPS in your car or on your smartphone. I'm going to be talking to these kids about their own smartphones. But yeah, if you can relate it to that. But talking about why, it's great to be able to use that. But if you were going to be out in the woods, there's a big problem with using that device to try and get you where you need to go.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the science programs that are in your area. Can you give us a couple of examples of some of those science education programs for students?
We talk about habitats in a lesson called Who's Home. So the kids are going to go around with us. We do an introduction inside to talk about what makes a habitat and what has to change for one habitat to turn into another. It's very small things, the amount of water, the amount of light, the kinds of plants that are there. And we go around the swamp trails, and even though it's called the Great Swamp, we have forest, marsh, meadow. We have a lot of different habitats. So getting to compare those firsthand right in front of you. We even have trails where you can say, okay, on this side you have dry forest, on this side you have swamp. Go back. Look, see the difference? You can't really do that in a classroom, so getting them out in the habitats. We have lessons that are very simple for young kids that are just how to be in a natural place and be excited about it and learn, but also stay safe. What are the kinds of things that you should be doing? We do lessons on adaptations, which is one of my favorite topics, because I could look at anything outside, any animal or plant, and you can talk about what special tools that it has to survive, either behaviors or physical parts of their body, and that's always really fun to teach about as well.
And I guess some of these, I guess you can sit in a classroom and watch a video on these subjects, but it must lose something as opposed to actually being outside.
Yeah, I don't know how you can really teach about the natural sciences without getting out in nature. It's not something that's real to the kids unless you get out there and you are really looking at the way that things are interacting in the environment. And we're right here in Morris County. We're right close to so many schools. It's really an easy thing to fit in to get over to one of our sites.
And for the science programs, you mentioned now the facilities that you use for the science program, Pyramid Mountain and the Great Swamp Natural.
Exactly.
Okay. The Great Swamp Natural Education
Outdoor Education
Center. That's open year-round, is it not?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of the park facilities do close during the winter months, but this is a facility that you can really take advantage of all year round.
We do a lot of maple sugaring in the winter. That's the only time you can do it. So we're open all the time.
Now, there are also programs that are listed under the category of living history. And these involve things like using a water wheel, simple machines, the Industrial Revolution, the invention of the telegraph, what farm life was like in the early 19th and 20th centuries. What facilities does the Park Commission have to enable these kinds of programs to be offered?
We really have such an amazing variety. We have 6 sites where educational programs are an important part. The 2 that we've mentioned before, mine, but also for living history, we have Cooper Gristmill, which is in Chester. We have Fosterfield's Living Historical Farm in Morristown, and we have Historic Speedwell, also in Morristown. But you don't want to leave out horticultural education. That's over at the Frelinghuysen Arboretum, and so they also have lessons for school groups dealing with plants.
What kind of a time commitment is required for a field trip to one of these facilities?
Well, it can vary. I mean, we're going to work with what the schools can do. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's a little bit dictated by the busing schedule.
Yeah.
Our lessons are generally about 2 hours long. So some classes are going to come, they're going to do one lesson, they might stay and eat lunch, they might not, and then they're going to head out. Something that we're trying this year to help with that, and if they really want to make a day out of it, but doing 2 full lessons would just be too long. We're offering 1-hour extensions to the lessons after lunch. So for example, if they're doing Lenape life in the morning and they're actually touring our wigwam, which is decorated as if it's lived in, they're trying to make fire with friction. They don't succeed, by the way, so don't worry. But in the afternoon, they can then take a walk on the trails and look at the animals and the plants that are there and talk about how did the Lenape use, this was their materials, this is what they had. So you could add onto that topic that you're already doing in the morning and make it a little bit of a longer day, but not too long that you get in trouble with the bus company.
Yeah. Now, if a school is interested or if a teacher is interested in some of these programs, but for whatever reason cannot actually do a field trip, I understand that you have some programs that will also actually go to the schools?
Yeah, that's
What
our
are they
outreach
about?
programs.
Okay.
Gosh, we probably have about 12 or 15, I can't remember offhand how many they are, but we do for all ages, and it's usually me that's going out to the schools, and they're very hands-on. I'm bringing some of the artifacts, the touchable artifacts that they aren't going to get a chance to see in the classroom to them. A lot of times I'm using PowerPoints that are interactive and helping kids to be involved. We do simulation activities, so I'm coming either to the classroom, or I can also do something where I come into an auditorium program and I'm doing something called an assembly program. One of the most popular ones that we do is called Be Bear Aware, which you can imagine in northern New Jersey is a pretty important topic to understand what's going on with black bears, how to interact with them, how important they are in the environment. So that's been very popular.
Well, you're not interacting with any of them during these programs, are you?
Not usually. Bears are smart enough to know if there are 30 loud second graders moving down the trails, that's probably not the place that they should stay.
But I know Jenny did, by the way, offer to take one of her friends here to the program, and I politely declined. It was a
corn snake, which is an endangered species in New Jersey, which we have a special permit to have. That's another option, actually. They can do a live animal extension if they're on site. They could do a 45-minute presentation where we take out some of our animals and the kids get to really see them up close. And I can also take those out to the schools with me. I was excited about that. I'm a little disappointed.
Are these for all age groups, all like K to 12?
Yeah, we do pre-K to university level. We actually have one class called Great Swamp Ecosystems, which is often taken by university level classes that come.
Okay.
And that really deals with what are the conservation issues that we have on the ground there, and how do we deal with them? You know, a lot of them are things that people wouldn't think of. You know, deer management is something probably a lot of people think of in Morris County, but invasive species is something that many people are unfamiliar with, but it's a big issue in conservation.
Now, and I mentioned, and I really don't want to end this segment without talking about some of the programs that are for the educators themselves, for teachers themselves. What can you tell us about those programs?
Well, we want, number one, we'd love people to come to our sites. If they can't come to our sites, we'd go to them. But what if they can't do either of those things? It's still so important to us that these quality lessons are getting to the kids. So you train the teachers. We're one of the main providers of professional development and environmental education in the state. We provide all the major curriculums. Anybody who's a teacher has probably heard of Project Wild, Project Wet, Project Learning Tree. We do programs that are about starting a schoolyard garden or habitat. We really, Flying Wild is about birds, so we want to teach the teachers how to continue this education in their classrooms as well.
Now, is there a cost for these programs for both students and for educators?
There is. The educator workshops are only $20 for a 6-hour workshop, and you get the curriculum. So that's a pretty good bargain. And even our school classes, we really don't want things to be too expensive for any school to come. So it's $125 for a class of 30 to do a 2-hour lesson. And it's $150 for a class of 30 for me to come to you. And then there's various, other combinations that you can do, but those are the basic prices.
And if you would like more information about any one of these programs that are offered for students and for educators, you can reach out to Jenny, and I'll give you some contact information if you don't mind, Jenny, if anyone wanted more information. Again, Jenny is the Superintendent of Environmental Education with the Morris County Park Commission, and you can reach her at 973-635-6629. You can also reach her by email at jgauze@morrisparks.net. And you can find a lot of detailed information about any one of these programs by accessing the Morris County Park Commission website, and that is morrisparks.net. Jenny Gauze, I want to thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, if you have a question about county government that you would like to have answered, you can call the Morris County Freeholders Office at 973-285-6010. Why don't you visit the county government's website as well? That's www.morriscountynj.gov, and once you're there, sign up for the county's electronic newsletter. And you can also take advantage of the many social media that Morris County embraces. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, browse through some county documents if you'd like on Scribd, and you can also view informational videos such as this one on the county's YouTube channel. I'm Joe Garifo. Thank you very much for being with us. Tune in again next week at this time, won't you, for another edition of Focus on Morris County.